right. Shalom. Shalom to the elect of Yasharallah. Shalom to the other men, women, and children of our nation. Who YAHAWAH Yahushua is my mercy upon us. Shalom to all of you. Shema Yasharallah. Yahawah. Alahaya NAWA. Yahawah. Akhad. Barakatah Yahawah. Barakatah Yahushua. Bahashem. HAQADASH. Halalyam. NAWA. NAWA. YAHAWAH. BAHASHAM. YAHAWASHI. BAHASHAM. HAQADASH. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops of Great Millstone, and much due respect to the sincere Akim for our labor and works. And shalom to you believers, to the Akim Aqua, which be brothers and few amount of sincere sisters who do subscribe to this truth. All right. Wada, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, HAYA HAQADASH. Giving thanks to our powerful the Holy Spirit. I process out that today's lesson is edifying, laying upon the tables, and straight to the point. All right. I'm your brother Malkia, representing warriors for Yahawashi and Past State Protect. All right, so today's lesson is pretty much going into an article I stumbled across something that's going on in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. Let me get the article right now. It's from AP News. Okay. I also have the link in the description box too, so you can look up the article I'm actually going to read from. But yeah, this is what I'm going to get. Oh no, Salaki, that's the wrong one. My bad. This one I was looking for. Salaki. Okay. Oregon, a hotbed of extremists, seeks to curb paramilitaries. Okay. Oregon, a hotbed of extremists, seeks to curb paramilitaries. Okay. So I went into the word paramilitaries, right? And it goes into of a unofficial force. So pretty much like it's like a force that's pretty much trained like military, but they're not literally part of Esau's military pretty much. All right, it's pretty much like a group of people who is trained somewhat similar to like militant. Okay, like let's say a group of veterans got together and formed their own little group that's supposed to like protect the people. Pretty much, sedition among men right now regarding the kings and princes. Um, let's see, it says of an official force organized similarly to a military force, a group of civilians, okay, a group of civilians trained and organized in a military fashion, but which do not represent the formal forces of a Soviet power. Okay, so they don't represent the army, Esau's military branches, like the army, the Marines, Navy, Air Force, National Guard, Coast Guard, Space Force, and whatever other forces they got out there. Okay. All right, so Oregon, a hotbed of extremists, which also goes into like militant. Uh, Let me ask you. Let's look up that word. Right, militant. We Slovakia, extremist. Okay, extremism. It says the holding of extreme political or religious. Okay, similar terms. You have militancy,
militancy,
the use of confrontational or violent methods in support of a political or social cause. Okay, there are signs of growing militancy among workers. It's like an example they put like in a sentence. So you get the point here. So similar term for extremist will be like militant. Okay, all right. If anything, Esau Edom, he's a true extremist. He's the one that's that mindset of like militant. Always gotta be extreme against political and religious views, especially towards his truth. He's very militant. He's an extremist towards religious views, towards this truth. The words of YAHAWASHI. Um, all right, so paramilitary, like paramilitary, I'm gonna read it again, of an unofficial force, organized similarly to a military force, a group of civilians trained and organized in a military fashion, but which do not represent the formal forces of a sovereign power. Okay, so I'm gonna read a little more of the article that the scriptures. I only got like four I want to bring up. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh. All right, so I'm gonna actually read it. An armed takeover. An armed takeover. Let's look at the image again that they use for this article. Right? Sedition among men definitely should come to mind. All right. Sedition among men, the Egyptian against the Egyptians. Okay. All right. Civil war soon to come to pass. All right. But it says an armed takeover of a federal wildlife refugee refuge, Salakia, wildlife refuge. Over 100, over 100 straight days of a racial justice protest, plural, that turned downtown Portland into a battleground, a violent breach of the state capitol, clashes between gun-toting right-wingers and leftist militants. Okay, Egyptians against Egyptians, right? One people against another people, people against people. Over the past decade, Oregon experienced the sixth highest number of extremist incidents in the nation, despite being 27th in population, according to an Oregon Secretary of State report. Now, the state legislature is considering a bill that experts say will create the nation's most comprehensive law against paramilitary activity. It will provide citizens and the state attorney general with silver remedies in court if armed members of a private paramilitary group interfere with or intimidate another person who is engaging in an activity they have a legal right to do, such as voting. A court could block paramilitary members from pursuing an activity if the state attorney general believe it will be illegal conduct. Okay, so the point I want to get out of here was the very beginning, yeah, very beginning of the article, it says how an armed takeover of a federal wildlife refuge over 100 straight days of racial justice protests that turned downtown Portland into a battleground, a violent breach of the state capitol, clashes between gun-toting right wingers and leftist militants. Okay, so we get the scriptures now for this lesson. I brought that. All right, so let's get second Ezra. And again, I have the link for this article in the description box, so you can go read it for yourself. All right. Let's get the second Ezra right quick. All right, so the book of Second Ezra, chapter 9. Okay, so the book of Second Ezra, chapter 9, verses 1 through 4 in the KJV, and then I'm gonna get it in the G&T, the Good News translation. So the KJV 1611 for Second Ezra chapter 9, verse 1 through 4. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before. Right? So the men of YAHAWASHI that was set up as the watchmen upon the house of YAHSHA, right? Our nation, the Hebrew Israelites, are going to measure the time diligently in itself through the signs coming to pass, when the prophecies are coming to pass, right? These watchmen will be able to use that as a measuring stick to have an idea of where we're at in prophecy. How close are we approaching to the second coming of YAHAWASHI, HaMashiach, our Lord and Savior? That's going to deliver and save the remnant of our nation only. Okay, the elect. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest Yahawah BAHASHAM Yahawashi will begin to visit the world which he made. Okay, now verse 3. These are some of the signs that's coming to pass that's gonna let us know of like a rough estimate of where we're at in prophecy. Okay, these are two of the signs. Verse 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High Yahawah BAHASHAM Yahawashi spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Okay, so the watchmen upon the house of YAHSHA are going to be measuring the time diligently in itself through prophecy, the signs that's coming to pass. And right now in this lesson is going into pretty much like uproars of the people, sedition among men. Okay, so verse 3 again. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, right? Earthquakes goes into like an actual quaking, an actual shaking of the foundation. And depending on how strong the magnitude is, it can be very dangerous to the point where it can literally destroy and kill a lot of people. Like, for example, what's going on in Turkey and Syria with the earthquake the last time I stumbled across any like articles about the death toll in Turkey and Syria was like it surpassed 33,000. Okay, earthquakes also goes into tempests, so like different so-called natural disasters, different types of storms, like rainstorms, hurricanes, cyclones, tornadoes, um, and whatever types of storms out there, thunderstorms, right? That all falls into earthquakes, and we're seeing a lot of that in many parts of the world. And then it says, and uproars of the people in the world. Uproars goes into a public expression of protest slash outrage. Similar terms would be like commotion, ruckus, fuss. I'm gonna let y'all see the article again, what I'm talking about. All right, hold on. So this is what I'm going over right now. Oregon, a hotbed of extremists, seeks to curb paramilitaries. Okay, you see how it's looking violent. You got one people against another people. All right, that right there is an example of what? Of wars of the people in the world. A public expression. That's a public expression of protest slash outrage. Okay, all right. And because of these two signs, out of the many other signs that's coming to pass, is letting the watchman upon the house of Yasha know, or give them a rough estimate of where we're at in prophecy, so we can warn the people, like, hey, according to this event, this current event, and according to scriptures, this is where we're roughly at. This is how far or close we are onto the return, the actual physical return, the second coming of YAHAWASHI Mashiach, for the word we call Jesus Christ, the true anointed, the true Messiah, YAHAWASHI Mashiach. All right, so I already went through that. Verses Second Esdras chapter 9, verse 1 through 4. Now that was the KJV. Now I'm gonna get that in the GNT. Okay, and Abaratazah, it'll be more clear of your understanding. The GNT version, it goes into, he answered, consider all these things very carefully. When you see that when you see that some of the signs, right, the prophecies I have told you about have appeared, you will know that the time has come when Yahawah, BAHASHAM Yahawashi, will bring judgment on the world he has created. Okay? Here it says when he begins to visit the world he made, because he's going to do that in the form of judgment, killing a lot of people, killing and destroying a big portion of his creation. Okay? He answered, consider all these things very carefully. When you see that some of the signs, the prophecies I have told you about have appeared, you will know that the time has come when Yahawah BAHASHAM Yahawashi will bring judgment on the world he has created. There will be earthquakes, national rebellions, international intrigues, unstable leaders, and confused rulers. First person that comes to mind is fucking Joe Biden's clone, or the individual that's supposed to be Joe Biden, as one hell of an unstable leader and a confused ruler. That nigga don't. I don't think Joe Biden knows that he's a president. All right. But yeah, so these are the signs that's coming to pass that's letting us know that this is pretty much the time that Yahawah is getting ready to literally judge the world that he created. All right, Yahawah. All right, so we're gonna get Second Esdras chapter 15. All All right, so the book of Second Ezra, chapter 15, um, chapter 15, verses 14 through 19. I'm gonna get it in the KJV and then in the Good News Translation. So it reads, "Woe to the world and dumb that dwell therein, destruction, sorrow, woe to the world and dumb that dwell therein." Verse 15, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another." Let me let you see that picture again. Okay. It says, "And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands." Okay. No, you're not going to see actual swords here, but the sword is today's swords would be like guns, riot shields, pepper sprays, of a instrument of destruction. All right. All right. So you think of guns, think of hammers, homemade bats with barbed wires, with nails punctured through the top part of the bat. Homemade, melee weapons, close combat weapons. Okay, but starting with a gun. Okay, and you're seeing that here pretty much. You got one people standing up against another with, pretty much weapons in their hands. Okay, all right. But it's going to get worse than that. In America, people are literally going to be shooting each other, man. Really trying to kill each other. It's going to be a war zone out here, believe it or not. Okay. And then because there's a famine that's among us, and the famine is also going to affect the armory, ammunition, to where people are going to start having to use homemade weapons pretty much. All right. Bats, sticks, swords, katanas, spears, oya, you fucking name it. All right. Whatever the people can use to pretty much harm someone, kill someone. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. Verse 16, "For there shall be sedition among men," right? Sedition among men. "There shall be rioting among men. There shall be rebellion among men, insurrection among men, disobedience among men, resistance among men." Okay, and towards who exactly, right? "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings or princes." Think of like the presidents, the vice presidents, um, as like the kings, right? And then for the princes, for an example, can be like your police officers, your sheriffs, riot squads, those who's supposed to enforce Esau, Edom, so-called white man's laws, okay? All right. "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So pretty much the people are going to rise up. They're going to rebel, resist against their kings and princes. Okay, and they're going to just pretty much take the course into their own action. They're going to do what the people are going to do, what they feel like is best for the people, pretty much. Okay, all right. Now what the kings or princes are saying. Okay, because a lot of people are waking up to Esau Edom, so-called white man's bullshit. To how much of how evil the government really is. They're not really for the people. They're against it. Verse 17, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." So remember how during the first lockdown, um, many places and businesses um, were either closed, shut down, certain places you couldn't go. Okay, but this upcoming Next lockdown, Abrasaza is sooner than we believe, Abrasaza. But the second lockdown is going to be much more draconian, much more harsh, strict. People are going to literally desire to go to a city, probably even to like the next block down the street, but they're not going to be able to because of XYZ reasons. I can give some possible examples, but don't take my word for it. But something you can like meditate on, like a man shall not be able to go into the city because of and shall not be able to because of what? Martial law. You probably won't be able to go from Pasadena to somewhere south, more south, like going towards like Almeda, Genoa, or actually going more up north, like actually into Houston. I probably won't be able to go from Pasadena to Deer Park, Pasadena to Kima, Lee City, Webster, and etc., unless I have the proper credentials. Okay, I'm updated with the juicy juice. You know what I'm talking about. The shit that a lot of these people are, suddenly becoming unalive. Okay, Salakia, if you don't understand what I'm saying, the thing about YouTube, we gotta use fucking forwards. All right, but if you know what I'm talking about, those who took, who went to the doctor and got that thing, all right, you're probably going to need to be updated with that in the system by some app so you can be able to enter the city or leave the city, vice versa, both to leave from the city and come back into the city or go into the city. Okay. Or you may need a charagma, okay, in order to go to the city. Or because there's just too much chaos going on out there. Too much going on out there that you ain't gonna be able to go there. Because I remember I think it was somewhere in China, there was a video of one of the drivers was recording the what the traffic was like out there in one of the highways somewhere. And above them, literally above them from the highway, you can see a drone it's hovering, it's propelling, it's hovering above the traffic, and there's a big ass, literally a huge poster of a looks like a QR barcode, and you will have to put like your phone and let the barcode be visible to it, and the drone will scan it, and then it will come back either I think red or green. Green means you're good, you can go. Red means access denied. Green access granted. Red access denied. Okay, some possible examples you can think of why a man is not going to be able, and women too, just people in general, won't be able to enter a desired city. Okay. Verse 18 and 19, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. How much more you women? You strong, independent, Wonder Woman, woman king type of mindset. I don't need a man. All right. If men is going to be folded in these times, how much more you women? Okay, the weaker vessel. And because of the pride of these people, they're just gonna be doing whatever the fuck they want to do. They're gonna take advantage of it. Believe it or not, a lot of people here, deep down in spirit, they desire a society to literally crash so they can literally do whatever the fuck they want to do. Okay, and guess what? You're gonna get it. The time is coming. Abaratazah sooner. It's gonna be a lot of crazy shit going on, a lot of deaths among the people. Um, verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor because of what? Matthew 24 and 12, that the love of many, because iniquity shall abound, right? Sin upon sin, wickedness, unrepentant sins shall grow, increase. The love of many shall wax cold. A lot of people are going to have no love towards one another. They have no pity upon them. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, with the gun, some form of deadly instrument, a destructive instrument, some type of weapon or something, right? And spoil, right? Take, plunder, ransack their goods, food, water, medicine, resources, whatever is considered a resource for people. in those times, right? And so I can read it again. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods. Okay, and believe it or not, uh, men, women, and children can also be considered as spoiled for people, especially women. Okay, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, because of famine, starvation, hunger, and for great tribulation, for great misery, suffering. Okay, all right. So let's get that in the GNT version. All right, I'm gonna get one more. It reads, "The world and the people in it are doomed. The war, the war that will bring their destruction is very near. The second war passed, and behold, the third war coming quickly." Just paraphrasing the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 14. Okay. Civil war, race wars, riot wars, war upon war. Okay. Especially World War III. Especially when niggas start getting drafted out to the Valley of YAHAWASHI, like in the Middle East area. Okay. And that draft comes. The world and the people in it are doomed. The war that will bring their destruction is very near. Nations will arm themselves and fight against other nations. There will be great political turmoil, with one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government. Shall be sedition among men, right? They shall not regard the kings or princes. They shall take the course. They shall power into their own course. Is something paraphrasing. Let's see. Yeah, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings or princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. Right? It says there will be great political turmoil, with one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government. Okay, we go into this article, right? It sees a armed takeover of a federal wildlife refuge. Over 100 straight days of racial justice protests that turned downtown Portland into a battleground, a violent breach of the state capitol. Clashes between clashes between gun-toting right wingers and leftist militants, one people against another, sedition among men. Okay, all right. They shall arm themselves with a sword. Just paraphrasing. Okay. Verse 17 in the GNT. There will no longer be free access to the cities. All right. For whatever reason, I gave you some possible examples because of total chaos going on out there, and they got the military out there, the EU troops controlling the traffic for who gets to come in, who gets to come out, what gets to come in, and what gets to leave out. Okay, pestilence going on around there, pandemic, epidemic. You got a zombie-like outbreak with a war zone going on, and just pure chaos out there. Okay, verse 18. Because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. Yeah, people are going to be completely confused when all hell breaks loose. Okay, they're not going to know what to do, what's going on. There's going to be total confusion where people live because they don't have this wisdom and knowledge that's going to keep them stable in those times. The wisdom and knowledge of YAHAWASHI, the book of Isaiah, chapter 33, verse 6, right? Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, paraphrasing. This wisdom and knowledge of YAHAWASHI, this counsel. Verse 19, driven by famine, hunger, starvation, and terrible suffering. So driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. So because of people are so hungry and they're suffering terribly, people are going to react, move based off of such emotions, and what? People ain't gonna have no pity upon their neighbors. The love of many wax cold. Okay, people are hungry as hell. People don't care about others no more. It's all about how can he or she get their daily bread today. How can he or she survive today, pretty much, right? And that's why people are going to be doing this to people, driven by famine, hunger, and terrible suffering, great tribulation. People will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. All right, so let's get to Isaiah 19:2 right quick. Again, I will rock this out the lesson edifying. We're going to be playing upon the tables so you can be able to take it and run with it. I want to get to Isaiah chapter 19 real quick. Verse 2 with the Egyptians against the Egyptian scripture. Here we go. So the book of Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. So pretty much the same people against each other. The Americans against the Americans. Okay? All right? Especially here in America, there's definitely going to be Egyptians against the Egyptians. And I just showed you for an example. I'll read it again. Okay? An armed takeover. And I'm reading from here. Again, I have the link in the description box. Okay? An armed takeover of a federal wildlife refuge. Over 100 straight days of racial justice protests that turned downtown Portland into a battleground. A violent breach of the state capitol. Clashes between gun-toting right-wingers and leftist militants. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Okay, so let's get that in G and T, right? Let me get that in G and T right quick. Bear with me. G&T. Okay, so the G&T for the book of Isaiah, chapter 19, verse 2. And it's titled here in the book, it's titled as God will punish Egypt. So YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI will punish America. Okay, because America is spiritually Egypt. Egypt is bondage. The bondage of who? The bondage of a big bulk of the nation, Yahshua, the Hebrews, like so Blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, Native American Indians, and you speckled birds, the Israelite foreigners, aka confused faces. Okay, so Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2, in the G&T. The Lord Yahawah BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI says, I will stir up civil war in Egypt, in America, and turn brother against brother, and neighbor against neighbor. Viral cities will fight each other, and viral kings will struggle. Wow. All right, it's going to be a lot of division going on here. All right, a lot of people going against each other. All right, that's pretty much civil war. Okay, since we're talking about civil war, let's actually get that in the book of Matthew, and then we'll close out with that. The book of Matthew, chapter 12. All right, so let me get that in NLT version too. Stay with me. All right, so the KJV for the book of Matthew, chapter 12, verses 25 and 26. And YAHAWASHI knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself, right? Civil war is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. That's why we're seeing America falling, because Yahweh, Yahushua, has his prophets prophesying in his name, telling the people what's going to happen before it happens, and prophecy is kicking America's ass. People here are rousing up against their kings and princes, and eventually it's going to lead to a literal civil war in America. All right. We're seeing this kingdom being divided against itself. Okay. And Yahweh knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Verse 26. And if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Okay, when you got the people are going against whoever's in rulership, that kingdom is going to fall, man. All right, because the people is not with the leader no more. They're against the leader now. So let's get that in the NLT for the book of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 25 and 26, the New Living Translation. Yahweh knew their thoughts and replied, any kingdom divided by civil war is doomed. A town or family splintered by feeling will fall apart. So it's just giving like a description of how America is just likened onto like a family. And when you got families buckering, fighting against each other, eventually that's going to split the household apart. The family is against the head, which is the man. The woman's against the head. The man is not having it. It's just constant division going on. And eventually that household, that family is going to splinter. My feeling is going to fall apart. That's how America is right now. There's a lot of bickering, ruckus and protests, and a lot of resistance, disobedience. Okay. Yahweh knew their thoughts and replied, any kingdom divided by civil war is doomed. A town or family splintered by feeling will fall apart. And if Satan is cast down, it's like if Satan is casting out Satan, he is divided and fighting against himself. His own kingdom will not survive. All right, this kingdom is not meant to survive. Okay, this current kingdom, America, is meant to fall according to scriptures. Okay, so Abba Rasazat, the lesson was edifying. That's all I got to bring up for today's lesson. I don't want to make the lesson too long. Abba Rasazat lesson was edifying, plain upon the table, straight to the point. You're able to grab it, run with it. All right, so if there's any precepts I left out, Akim, Shah, you can leave on the comment boards to edify the flock. So I'm gonna close out by giving a much ado, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, BAHASHAM, HAQADASH, Halalyam, NAWA, NAWA, Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, BAHASHAM, HAQADASH. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops of Great Millstone. Much to respect to the sincere Akim for our laboring and works. Shalom to you believers, that are Akim Aqua, which would be brothers and few amount of sincere sisters who do subscribe to the truth. All right. DTA, Abba soon, Farm Rasha Allah. All right. Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, Shalak Rayam, Wa Nasham, YAHAWAHI YAHAWAHI YAHAWASHI QaDash YAHAWAHI YAHAWASHI NAWA BABAKASHA BABAKASHA